It's 6 a.m., but instead of hot coffee, breakfast, and sleepy eyes, Aram Shaybani was frantically running around his flat, smashing up things and flushing them down the toilet. But loud banging at his door told the entire story. He thought removing those things and being calm would save him. But what the police uncovered in his flat brought over 20 years of Aram Shaybani's life open and finally answering curious questions like, how could a man with no job afford flashy cars worth millions and expensive properties all over Europe? Who really was this Aram Shaybani, and how did he manage to do all this? Today we will look at the story of a jobless man who built an empire on lies and deception and how he lost it all. Manchester, 1986. An Iranian immigrant family comes to the UK, having left Iran because of the Iraq-Iran war. After settling in Manchester as an Iranian refugee, Aram Shaybani was limited to taking very low jobs to stay afloat. But that all would soon change. In the early 2000s, with the housing boom in the UK, the banks were accepting self-certified mortgages. Shaybani saw the opportunity and acted. He began applying for these easy mortgages, claiming he was a bank manager or interior decorator. But he didn't stop there. To make his lies more convincing, he began forging documents like bank statements and transaction receipts to back this up. With this, he acquired more than 20 properties in England and Spain alone. With such wealth came the opportunity for Shaybani to put himself out in the world as a legitimate real estate businessman. To ensure the narrative was very convincing, he began having plastic surgery. But that was not all. Shaybani began purchasing classic cars. With this, he could look more like what he claimed to be, a real estate investor with houses in Greater Manchester, Kensington, and other places in Spain. Shaybani was not just a millionaire, but a very good actor. He posted pictures of himself in very expensive spots, places like penthouses, on the beach, on expensive yachts. All these pictures were not just posted carelessly. They were a careful arrangement to guide the narrative of who he really was. The logic was simple yet smart. Nobody who was running from the law could live that openly. He fooled the authorities, but his deception never lasted. Shaybani also frequently bought and sold properties and bought expensive art. By 2005, Shaybani had around £5 million in properties, £1.2 million in cash, £1.5 million in crypto assets, luxury cars, and artwork worth a fortune. But something still looked suspicious about him. Perhaps it was because he had such wealth with no working source, or how lavishly he lived. But the major truth was that this was all a cover-up for something even bigger: drugs. Shaybani was not just someone in a long drug market chain. He was an original kingpin. He controlled the market, selling drugs directly from the producers to major traffickers in the drug trade. But even the story of this drug kingpin had a beginning. Shaybani, being an already self-made millionaire, had the opportunity of skipping some steps in the drug business ladder. The producers wanted the money, and he had lots of it. So he began with doing big trades and running international businesses. First of all, he established many links with a plan to set up a self-working and secretive system of trade. Now Shaybani was known to make many expensive trips to elegant places like Dubai, Canada, and many other places. But one place stood out: Colombia. Shaybani made frequent trips to Colombia, and unlike his frequent journeys, this one had no photos posted or evidence of being there in his reports. That was the first gap in his story that made the UK detectives already watching him more suspicious. They began watching very closely. His trips would be later revealed to be meetings with cocaine producers, even though he called it research trips. He later began buying industrial instruments. At the beginning, 2 30-ton industrial presses, plastic vacuum sealing bags, and all he needed for converting cocaine paste into powder on a large scale. His trade went beyond the UK. He had trade access to places like Spain, Belgium, and the Netherlands, buying directly from the producers and supplying. This went on for 2 decades without the authorities knowing a single thing. But he didn't know they were watching, looking for something to hold. And soon enough they found it, and then they struck. Greater Manchester. It was 6 a.m. Shaybani heard loud bangs on the door of his apartment. He immediately found out it was the police and stalled for time. But the police broke in. They caught him in the bathroom, destroying all evidence, including his phone. But this wasn't just any phone. It was a military-grade phone with a top-notch security system. This was his desperate effort to dispose of evidence, but police managed to recover it all. In his apartment in Greater Manchester, police found clean sheets of cash worth up to £167,000 and cocaine. They also came across crypto recovery codes. But this was the least of what they would see later. The police went to his next apartment in West London, Kensington. At this apartment, they found Class A and Class B drugs, large wraps of cocaine, ecstasy, and MDMA. The flat was like a gallery with artworks by Banksy and Warhol all over the place. There they also found over £1 million in neatly packed cash. When they searched his apartment in Ibiza, they found documents that showed high-value transactions, deals, documented agreements, and international activities. Shaybani had built a successful empire and was running things all over Europe from his flat. And here he was, with his secret discovered. But all the evidence did not give the full story, and sure enough, the police were watching for more trails to bring it all out. The trial began in court, and detectives looked at the case, presenting evidence that Shaybani was not just anyone in the drug business, but at the top of the ladder. Their piece of evidence was as follows: documents and receipts of 10 industrial-sized cash-counting machines, but only 3 were recovered. Encro phones to encrypt his activities and deals. Lastly, his crypto account, where they could recover £1.2 million. But that wasn't enough. The police decided to search other places for online evidence, and so Greater Manchester Police decided to go digital. They searched to find all digital trails and clients they could see. Millions of documents were accessed, from his hospital bills to all his account transactions, emails to encrypted messages. They searched for something that could give the answer they needed. They found big club bookings, bank cards, plastic surgeries, and hospital bills. But that was not solid. Then they saw it: international transactions, forged documents, properties paid for not in his name, but with his bank card, insurance policies for houses not under his name. It was clear he had bigger connections than a normal distributor. That was when his trial got intense. Aram Shaybani is in court face-to-face with the judge with 20 different charges for smuggling cocaine and other drugs, forgery, money laundering, conspiracy of the drug import, and perverting justice. He was finally charged with 34 years in prison and an extra 3 years for refusing to open his encrypted phones in court. The case closed in 2022, but was later reopened in April 2024, not for his sentence, but for his money. The conclusion was clear but heavy. Shaybani was to pay £3.4 million or face an extra 10 years in prison. The court knew he had more of the illegal money, and they were going to recover every last bit of it. This was the rise and fall of Aram Shaybani's highly structured business, and the millionaire playboy finally moved from his penthouse to prison. If you like true stories like this, then click subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.